Hello, Magic Casters of all shapes and sizes. My name is Chance. Welcome to my Spellbook, and thank you so much for tuning into the first ever episode of our third level spell series. Can I get a round of applause, please? To be honest, this channel has been growing like crazy lately, and I'm super excited about it. But the road is far from over, my young wizards and magic practitioners. Today we have a very fun spell in store for us, and one of my favorite spells. To be honest, I would strongly suggest you to play with this spell at least once in your time as a wizard and or cleric, and anyone else that gets access to this spell. It is truly an amazing spell for both mechanics and roleplay. All I ask is that you don't be a jerk with it, and I'll get into why that is in a little bit. In any case, we're talking about Animate. It is usable by the cleric and the wizard, and it is found in the good old player's handbook, and one could make a strong argument that it is just a staple of Dungeons and Dragons, a true staple of Necromancy in general. Oh, it's so good. Now let's take a quick look at its mechanics here so we can kind of figure out what's going on. The effect at a glance: create an undead servant and control it as a bonus action. Pretty simple. The cast time is 1 minute, which means it's not really perfectly suited for combat use, but whatever. The range is a measly 10 feet, but how close do you really need to be? The duration is weird. It's instantaneous, technically, but we'll get into that a little bit more later on. At higher levels, you can animate or reassert control over 2 extra undead for each slot level above 3rd, which is kind of cool. Your components are the Holy Trinity, so verbal, material, and somatic. If you're curious about that material component, it is a drop of blood, a piece of flesh, and a pinch of bone dust. Basically, if you have a body present, it's not too much of a stretch to believe you shouldn't have those things present as well. If not, I'm sure you can find a way to get access to them. Then the school is super predictable. It is Necromancy, ladies and gents, and it is, it pretty much defines the whole school of magic, to be honest with you. Now let's take a look at the full description. A warning and a theme of a lot of these third level spells: they're pretty freaking long, let me tell you. Pretty long. But let's get started anyways. This spell creates an undead servant. Choose a pile of bones or a corpse of medium or small humanoid within range. Your spell imbues the target with a foul mimicry of life, which sounds super awesome, by the way, raising it as an undead creature. The target becomes a skeleton if you choose bones, or zombie if you choose a corpse. The GM has the creature's game statistics. I believe that's hogwash. You should be aware of them. At the very least, be able to provide them to your GM. I know that it's a little bit of metagaming-y, but realistically, if you summon the creature, you should kind of know what its gist is. I don't know, just my humble opinion. Let's keep reading. On each of your turns, you can use a bonus action to mentally command any creature you made with this spell, if the creature is within 60 feet of you. If you control multiple creatures, you can command any or all of them at the same time, issuing the same command to each one. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. You decide what action the creature will take and where it will move during its next turn. You can issue a general command, such as guard a particular chamber or corridor. If you issue no commands, the creature only defends itself against hostile creatures. Once given an order, the creature continues to follow until its task is complete. The creature is under your control for 24 hours, after which it stops obeying your commands you've given it. To maintain the control of a creature for another 24 hours, you must cast a spell on the creature again before the current 24-hour period ends. The use of the spell reasserts your control of up to 4 creatures you have reanimated using this spell, rather than animating a new one. At higher levels, when you cast a spell using a spell slot of 4th level or higher, you animate or reassert control over 2 additional undead creatures for each slot level above 3rd. Each of the creatures must come from a different corpse or pile of bones. Oh man, that is a long one. So a couple things I want to touch on real quick. We are going to be doing separate videos on both the skeleton and the zombie right after this one, so stay tuned to those. Also, a couple things worth noting. There's a way to play around and be a dick with this spell, in my humble opinion. Do not, if it can be helped, give super specific commands to every zombie you summon, or skeleton or whatever. It gets to a point when you're at higher levels where you can make an absolute ton of these creatures. And if you assign each of them individual jobs during combat, it grinds combat to a complete halt. And I would make the argument that as a dungeon master, and a turn only lasting 6 seconds, at most you could probably command maybe 2 or 3 of them. So it's better to just have them all do the same thing roughly, or very similar things, so it just helps move the game along. That's why a lot of DMs have banes with these spells that let you summon multiple things with their own action, their own initiative, all that weird stuff. It's not for inexperienced players, but there's ways to make it easier in the whole party, and that's especially true if you have a larger party, naturally. Something else I did want to touch on as well. After you lose control, there's a strong argument to be made that they're going to be hostile towards you in the party, so bear that in mind. Ultimately, RP it however you want. I believe, if memory serves, skeletons have the nasty habit of kind of repeating their day-to-day life to some semblance or another, whereas zombies are typically more malicious. At least that's how I seem to remember it. If I'm wrong about that, please put it down beneath in the comment section. But outside of that, it's a pretty self-explanatory spell. Now let's get to the good stuff. Let's get to some alternative uses here. So one of the most common I see are using them as guards. The reason why they make good guards, especially skeletons, is skeletons don't ever get exhausted. Outside of that, they do what they're told, life's good. Their perception isn't the highest, that's true for zombies as well. The flip side of that being that they both get dark vision, which is super great, and to be honest, they're just kind of ideal guards. I really do think they're mindless, they do a simple thing, and it's a pretty easy command to issue to them. Another great use that I have for these zombies in particular is if you can get a corpse while it's fresh enough, you can make it seem like they're still alive, at least to some extent or another. If you combine this with like a simpler ritual spell like Magic Mouth, or even a couple cantrips, they'd be perfect for it. You could kind of make it seem like they're still alive. Like if you accidentally kill the king and you want the body to go elsewhere, or you kill the queen or what have you, just be like, honey, I'm going out to get some milk, and then never have them come back. I think that'd be kind of funny. Another great way to use this spell is for balancing purposes. This is where I see most people use it. Ultimately, action economy is still very much a thing, and at the very least, these are potential targets that the enemies are going to pick over you and your group, and maybe even give you a chance to escape if you swindle it right. Ultimately, just bear in mind, don't be a dick, don't take up an exorbitant amount of time for your turn, just moving your skeletons around, and you still have to figure out a spell to cast. I've seen it happen, and I've been on both ends of that. It's not fun, so yeah, just keep it simple for the most part, until you get more comfortable at least. That being said, if you have any alternative uses, ideas, thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, please put it down beneath in the comment section. I really do appreciate it. Also, if you like that cool hand-drawn picture of the gnome and you'd like your own hand-drawn D&D picture, please check out the guild hall to figure out exactly how to do that. That being said, thank you so much, everyone. I really do appreciate it. I hope you have a great day, and as always, happy casting.